Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to do a handover video on this Bessacarr E789. So based on the Fiat Ducato chassis, these more modern chassis have got all of the kind of refillable bits and pieces over here on the left hand side, which is always nice. So you've got the washer fluid, power steering fluid, engine coolant, brake fluid reservoir, engine oil filling point just here on the left hand side, and the engine oil dipstick is the red topped one just next door to that. You've got, because the engine battery sits under the floor in the cab, you've got a positive terminal here for the engine battery, and your negative or your earthing point is normally this one, but if that's not any good, you can use pretty much anything as a decent earth. There'll be an engine hoist around there, so that's just if you want to, to jump start the vehicle. It's a little bit easier to get to it from under there. Paint code is the white color 249, that's Fiat 249. You've got the Alco chassis and we weighed at 5 ton, and that is about it for under the bonnet really. Inside the passenger door, we've got the bonnet release handle just here. The diesel filling point is just behind this little cover here, nicely sort of tucked away. Under the passenger seat, you've got the jack and wheel brace kit, and also the fact that both front seats swivel round. So you've got this little handle here, which you just basically pull one way or the other, and it should lock it into place nice and easily. They've got the gas locker just down here, so this is you've got space in this gas locker for two either 6 kilo propane bottles like this one, or 13 kilo propanes as well if you wanted to. That's completely up to you how you want to do it, but at the moment you've just got this brand new 6 kilo propane bottle, which is full. So to turn the bottle on, we go anti-clockwise around to the left. That's turning the bottle on. And once you've done that, because we've got the crash sensor on here, we can press this button in. You can hear it, and obviously it does also tell you on there, press and hold it for about 3 seconds, and that will basically just allow any gas from the bottle through here and into the vehicle. So that is just essentially what you have to do to get the gas to go through. Nice and easy. All it really is a crash sensor to say that basically if you were to crash and the gas was on, this should in theory stop the gas coming through to the vehicle. So when you turn the gas back on for the first time, you normally have to purge it through with that button there, so that is quite normal. We've then got the freshwater filling point just here. So I have already loosened this off, but essentially all you have to do to actually use it is push in and round to the right until it stops. You'll then be able to put this key in, which is the new looking one. Put the key in, turn it whichever way it will go, and take the key out, and that cap is now locked in position. I can't take it out. So the same to undo it, key in, turn it, take the key out, and now when I push in and round to the left, the cap comes loose. So I will just lock that up for now, because I know we've got plenty of water in there. The step on the habitation door is electric, so all you have to do is press this button just here, and that will bring this step in and out nice and easily. There are a few other switches here, but the only one I'm just going to show you is this one here. So that does the light outside, I believe. So there is a switch for it on the control panel as well, which I'll show you in just a minute, but I'm pretty certain that there does the switch for the light outside. Either that, or I will work this out when we get inside, but it will either do the light for outside, the awning light, or it will do this light just here, but we'll work that out in just a minute. This vent just here is for the boiler, so anytime that you have the boiler lit up, you will feel hot air coming out through the bottom of it. So you've got the full-size awning there. I wouldn't be surprised if that's like a 5-metre awning. Looks about that. So in the to be fair, massive garage at the back here. We've got all of the carpets for the vehicle. They're all in here, they're all original. It's just that we take them up when we clean them so that you can see the floor and everything. The awning winder is sat in here as well. But the main reason I've actually opened this up is so that you can see behind this little cover here. So this just basically sits on nicely like that. But behind that cover is your waste drain. So if you want to drain the wastewater out underneath the van, you just pop your hand in here and turn this whichever way it will go. So that's that way. So there you go. See the wastewater coming out. So I'll leave that drain out for a minute. So we carry on now to the back. You've got the tow bar at the back just here with the electrics next to it. Ladder to get up onto the roof. This is just basically another door for the garage. There's nothing else to show you basically on this side. Right, so these two sections just here on the offside are both to do with the toilet. So this bit at the top here is your flush reservoir. So if you start running low on the flush fluid, which you'll work that out by the, basically it will stop pumping around the fluid. Then you just basically need to put, refill it through this point just here, which is your pre-mixed pink fluid that needs to go back inside here. To close that up, push it up to the top like I've just done there. And then you need to get this slightly older looking key. This is the key that does pretty much everything else apart from the water cap, by the way. Put it in and turn it, and that's now locked. The toilet cassette itself is very, very simple. All you have to do to actually remove it is lift up on the handle, and then you can take the entire thing out. The only thing you need to know about these cassettes really is that you empty it out from here. So you open this up, and then you can take this cap out, and that will then allow you to actually empty out the cassette. When you're emptying the cassette, you should be holding down the little yellow button at the back. And also that when, every now and again, these little rubber seals inside here need to be lubricated with some sort of silicone lubricant. So we've done that as part of the habitation check, I can see that. But if you can get yourself a can of silicone spray or silicone lubricant, spray that rubber seal up, as well as any sort of rubber seals like this one. Again, I can see that we've done this as part of the hab check. But anything rubber, basically, any of these rubber seals around the vehicle, silicone lubricant is the best thing for it, because it will just basically stop it from drying out and then eventually leaking. So that's really important to keep on top of. These two vents just here are both for the fridge, so if you ever need to get to the back of the fridge for any reason, that's the ones that you need to pop off to get to that. Next door to that, we've got your hookup point. So if you do have access to a hookup cable, it is really handy because it means that your leisure battery won't go flat. It also means that you can use any 240 volt appliances, which in this particular vehicle is quite a lot. So if you do have access to a hookup, in this particular case, it is very, very useful. Right, so this little cupboard just here might not look very important, but it really, really is. So what we've got down here is access to the leisure battery. So really, really good access to the leisure battery. You have got space next door to it for another one. If you did want to go for another one at some point, you can do that. At the moment, it is just, we have just got the one here. It looks like a perfectly good battery to me. But there you go. So fuse box just on the right hand side just here. It does tell you what each fuse does. So if you have a specific problem, you can just have a little look in here and just have a little look for yourself, see what it says. And you've also got your I never know how to actually pronounce the word, but there's a very, very standard company that make all of these parts. So you've got the trip switches up there, as you can see, but you've also got another switch at the bottom that says battery charger. So the battery charger is for when your hookup's plugged in, and basically if you switch that off and plug the hookup in, the battery will not be, the charger just won't come to life, and it will not charge your leisure battery. So in all honesty, you can just leave that switch switched on all the time, and it'll only start working when you plug the hook up in anyway. So you might as well leave that in the on position like it is now, and that is about it really. Okay, so just going to jump in the cab now so I can show you what we got going on in here, whilst trying not to make it messy. Right, so the cab itself, you've got a nice high-spec cab. So you've got the 6-speed manual gearbox. You've got a nice doubled-in head unit up there. Air conditioning works from this little switch just here between these two circular dials. Your hazard lights work from the middle just here, and you've got the lock and unlock function on there as well. You've got the electric adjusting mirrors, so you can select which mirror you want to move, and then basically move this around like a little joystick, basically, to move whichever mirror you want to move. So yeah, nice and easy to do that. The lights and indicators are on the left hand, whatever you want to call that, I've forgotten what it's called, stalk. Left hand stalk there, indicators and lights. You've got a couple of 12-volt sockets just there, and just trying to think if there's anything else. Showing you the bonnet releases over there on the other side of the passenger door. Just down there underneath my shoes is where you get to the engine battery. So if you ever need to get to that battery there, you can just basically take this little cover out, and that'll then give you access to the engine battery. As I said, you should only really ever need access to that if you're going to replace it, because you can still jump start from under the bonnet if you ever needed to. But there you go. Either way, it's fairly easy to get to it and, you know, access it. Right, so before I get onto the control panel there, I'm just going to shut this door. I'm just going to quickly explain. I've taken this cover off, so this literally just lifts out. There are places for screws. If you wanted to screw this back down, you can see that there has been some tiny little screws in there before. You do not have to do that. The only reason they would do that is if basically you were worried about security, but there's no way there's no way someone could be getting through there. The water tank's in the way. So anyway, there you go. So I've lifted that out so that you can see you've got your water pump just there with the strainer and a filter there, it looks like. What does that say? Accumulator. And also the top of the freshwater tank. So I've taken this cap off, and you can see a little red bung in there, which is your freshwater drain off point. So if you wanted to drain the freshwater tank out completely, then you just need to pull that little red bung out, and all the water will drain out onto the floor. And also, I mean, to be fair, that pump looks pretty much new, if I'm honest. Not sure if there's, you know, I'm not sure if we've replaced it as part of the hab check or not, but it does look very, very new. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. I also know that it pressurized itself straight away, and it is absolutely quiet. So all good things. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you down there so I can pop this back down. Right. Okay, so the control panel is very, very simple. These control panels are used across the board, really, for a lot of Swift, Bessacarr, you know, that sort of brand. So what you've essentially got, I mean, I've already turned this on. On this home screen, it tells you the time, if you've set it to the right time, which this isn't, and the date. You've got the internal temperature, which is telling us up there. So that's 18 degrees inside the vehicle. And then what we're going to do is press this little tick here, and it'll basically go through and show us what we've got going on. So that was the fresh and the wastewater levels, the habitation battery voltage on the left hand side, and the vehicle battery voltage on the right, the current that's being drawn through the battery, and that's it. So that's just basically showing us the levels. We've then got this switch just here, which we do not need to press. So what this does, if the hookup was plugged into the van, it automatically starts charging the leisure battery, all right, which is exactly what you want it to do. If you press that button there, what it does is it changes the power from the hookup from going to the leisure battery to going to the engine battery. So the only time you would ever need to do that is if you wanted to actually charge the engine battery. Okay. Any other time, you do not need to do that because, you know, you're not going to be using the power from the engine battery anyway, so you might as well leave it on leisure. But that's what that button does there, if you were ever wondering. You then got the switch up here. I'm just going to turn this. Oh, that was silly. Just turned it off. Right, turn it back on. So you got the water pump switch up there. Now, because you've got an inline pump, it works on pressure. So when we turn that switch on just there, it hasn't made any noise because I've just pressurized it before the video. But normally, when you turn that pump switch on just there, it will come on for a few seconds and then switch itself off. Okay? So if I just explain how this works. So the boiler is just in here. All right? And in the motorhomes, just like a house, you've got a cold water feed and a hot water feed to every tap or, you know, water appliance in the vehicle. So the cold water feed literally just gets sucked up through the fresh tank, through the pump, straight to the tap. And that's where you would just get this. Right, so that's the pump drawing the water through the fresh tank, straight to the tap and out. That's it. Okay. So the pump just turns itself straight off. That's absolutely perfect. That means we're all pressurized and that's good. The difference with the hot side is that it comes straight from the tank, through the pump, and then through the boiler, and then to the tap. All right, so if the boiler hasn't got enough water inside of it and it's not completely full, you will not get water coming out of the tap on the hot side. All right, so let me just show you how I can sort of show you what I mean by that. So I've just turned the pump off, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to sort of show you two things at once now. We've got the boiler drain just here at the bottom, the little yellow tab. Okay, if I had left the pump switched on just then, and I did this, the pump would kick in and try to basically constantly keep the boiler filled up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drain that water out from the boiler there for a sec. So that is now pouring water out onto the floor, draining the boiler out, and I'm going to bring it back. So that's now closed off again, but the boiler is probably, say, this full now, so it's probably lost about a quarter of its water. All right, so now that I've done that, when I turn the pump on, the pump is just going to run and run and run until that boiler is full up. All right, you probably can't hear it, but it is running. Right. Now, when I pull this tap to the hot side, what has essentially happened is the pump has filled the boiler up just up to the very, very top again. And now we've got good pressure and good, you know, no air, no coughing, no spluttering. We're all pressurized again. Pump turn itself off. Perfect. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So point of that story really is that you need to make sure that the boiler is full, okay? And if it's not full, as I said, you won't get any water coming through that tap just there on the hot side. Anytime that you've got good pressure coming out the hot tap, the boiler is 100% full. All right, there's just no way that it can come out with good pressure if it's not. Once you've checked that, you can basically do whatever you like with the boiler. It's just that you really need, it's really important to make sure that it's actually full of water before you start trying to light it up, because otherwise it'll overheat, basically. All right, rest of the control panel, these are all lights related, okay? So we've got this little switch just here, which is your awning light switch. So you can get to the back of the awning light from in this cupboard just here, and there is also a switch for it just here. So if you wanted to manually turn it on and off from inside the cupboard, you can do that, or as I said, you can press that button there and that will also turn it off. So now let's just work out quickly whether or not this switch does that. Yeah, no, so I think that switch there must do the awning light because it's not doing this one above our head. Right, so this little switch just here does this light above the head, so that's basically your entrance light. And you've also got this switch here, which it depends if it's wired up that way or not, but this is basically like a main lights on and off switch just here. But there you go. So once you've got that power on, you can come around to the vehicle and basically use any lights that you want. They've all got their own individual switches on them. I will just point out, in the kitchen just here, got a bit of a strange layout of lights. So you've got this switch just here on the front, which actually does these lights overhead. You've then got extractor and the actual lights on the extractor. So that's those ones there. What else have we got? I think that's about it for the lights, really. Right, so the control panel's on. We've got power going to everything 12 volt wise. So at the moment we can light the boiler up, we can turn the fridge on, we can, you know, we've got 12 volt power going to stuff. And 12 volt power really is like the brains of every appliance in the motorhomes, because even if they work on the mains, they still need 12 volt power to actually get going, basically, to tell it what to do. It all needs 12 volt power. So, you know, in the future, obviously, like I said a minute ago, the leisure battery in this is absolutely fine. But in the future, if you do get, you know, if the leisure battery does go flat and it is knackered, you know, you will find that not much will work. So until you get that leisure battery charged up or replaced, it's, you know, you're going to struggle to do anything really. Okay, so probably the first thing I'll show you is the boiler controls, just because of where they are. So you've got a Trumatic C, Trumatic C boiler in this one. And what that essentially means is that you've got, it's a normal Trumatic boiler in the sense that it does hot water and heating, but you've got the EH version of it, so you've got the electric version as well. So it's the same boiler, same, you know, it's not two different things, but it means that you can use it on gas or electric. So at the moment, on the right hand side there, this one here, this is the one that tells the boiler what energy to use. So at the minute it is on gas only, so just there in the middle is gas only. If I went down 1 or down 2, that's gas and electric at the same time. If I go up 1 or up 2, that's electric only, so hookup only. So at the minute, I can only leave it here because I've only got the gas on. I don't have the hookup plugged in, so I need to leave it there on gas. The dial on the left is the one that actually tells the boiler what to do. So much in the same way, you know, you use it in the same way. If you go up 1 or up 2, that's going to give us hot water only. So it will just heat the water up inside the boiler, either at 40 or 60 degrees. If I go back down to the middle, that turns the boiler off. If I go down 1, we've got heating only, and down 2 is heating and hot water. All right, so basically on a day like today where it's quite warm outside, I still might want hot water for a shower or something, so I would just go up 1 or 2 for 40 or 60 degrees of hot water, because I don't want heating, but I do want hot water. So I'll leave it on 60 degrees hot water for a bit on the gas, and you know, after about half an hour or so, we'll have hot water coming through the taps. All right, so that is the boiler controls. As I said, the boiler sits just in here. I can hear that that's lit straight up, so you know, working really, really nicely. Right, so the cooker is probably the next logical bit to show you. So as I was saying outside, this particular vehicle has got lots of functionality on the mains as well as the gas. The majority of motorhomes, I mean, the British built vehicles are slightly different, but the majority of motorhomes are gas only on a lot of appliances. So normally you'd struggle to find one with an electric hot ring there on the cooker, and you know, things like that. So lots of nice little bits and pieces on this van. So what we've got here, we've got the full sort of range cooker, if you like. So you've got 3 burners on the top and the electric ring there as well. So if you did have the hookup plugged in, you can just basically turn this dial here from 1 through to 6, and it will just basically start heating up that ring there at the back. Otherwise, if you want to use the gas, you have got, as I said, you've got 3 burners at the top. So bottom left, bottom right, top right, and an ignition for all of those there as well. So if I want to do that one, just like that. We've then got the oven, which is this one here, and the grill. The grill door needs to be left open when you're using it. The oven obviously doesn't. So that is the cooker there. I'm not sure just by looking at it, but I think it is. Some of these cookers will not work unless the cooker lid is all the way up. Again, don't quote me on that because it might not be one of those ones. Let me just check. No, I don't think it is actually. Anyway, so essentially, some of these cookers have a sort of a special lid that they won't work unless the lid's all the way up. But you might not find that's the case. But there you go. Right. So this little bit just here is a draining board for on the sink just here. You then got on the left hand side a couple of gas isolator taps, so it tells you what colour does what. So you've got fridge is the blue one, water heater is the red one, and the hob, so the range cooker just there, is the green one. Right, I'll show you the fridge now. So the fridge works on 3 different energies. So you've got gas, mains electric, and 12 volt. So the gas is the only one that we can use it on at the moment. So it's automatically selected that for us. And that is literally all you have to do. You just literally leave it alone now. It'll do its thing and get cold, basically. So you can leave it on the automatic function if you want to. If you don't want to do it on the automatic way, you can click through here and manually select which energy you want it to use, just like that. So what's happening here is we've got 12 volt, for which is when the engine's running. So this is giving us a fault code and flashing blue at us because it's not, the engine isn't running, so it's not going to work. We carry on flicking through. We've got gas on the manual function, so that'll just light up as it just was. We've then got 240 volt electric, also giving us a fault code because the electric hookup isn't plugged in, so it hasn't got any power there. Or we've got auto. So as I said, the auto will automatically select the best energy for you on this particular appliance, but in my opinion, it's just as easy to do it manually. Just select which one you want to use. The sort of idea behind these fridges is that, or the way that they tend to work, is basically you need to pre-cool it before you leave, before you drive off, either on the, let me just go through, either on the gas or the mains electric. And what that will do is, because they're the only 2 ways that the fridge will get cold, all right, like by itself. So if you're hooked up on the mains, select mains there, leave it overnight if you can, and then by the time you go to drive off in the morning, all you have to do is select 12 volt there. Same for, if you don't have the electric plugged in, you can just leave it on gas overnight, or at least for a good few hours, and then switch over to 12 volt. So if I just explain something as well, so you've got what's called a split charger or a split relay. Now basically what a split relay does is it takes some power from the engine's alternator that normally gets all just sent straight down to the engine battery, and sends some of it across to the leisure battery as well. So essentially what that means is all the time that your engine's running, your leisure battery is being charged up as well as the engine battery. So that means you can keep the fridge cold via the 12 volt, which is basically keeping it cold via the engine's alternator. So that's how that works, just in case you ever wondered. Up here we've got the status TV aerial booster, so you can turn that on and off from the little switch just in there. TV aerial, which you can wind up from here. I have just seen that you've got another max view aerial just here, so To be honest, I'm not all that clued up on these things, but you know, if you wanted to use this one, you can do. Just close this lid down. Just going to see if there's anything else to run you through. Okay, so we've gone through the boiler, cooker, fridge. So obviously got a really nice layout here. So you've got this huge transverse double bed up here with the speakers up here as well. They would have been factory fitted. So in the main wardrobe back here, you've got your paperwork for the vehicle in there, and a few standard, you know, bits and pieces in there that would have been fitted from new as well. You have got the microwave up there, probably the original one as well. So yeah, obviously specially mounted in there so that you can, you know, it all matches the rest of the vehicle. The full-size standalone table is in there with all of the relevant sort of drawers and bits and pieces in there as well. And the last bit to show you is the bathroom. So I never really run through the shower and the sink and all that because it's just literally hot and cold left and right, nice and easy. But I'll just pop that back in there. The toilet is normally the only bit that I actually run through because it's sometimes something that people haven't actually used before, one of these ones. So what you've essentially got is a grey handle on the left hand side which opens and closes the flap between the bowl here and the cassette. So that's now open. If I push it back, flap comes back over. So open, closed, and that's just by pulling that little handle there. And then we've got the blue button up here which pumps around that flush fluid. So open it up, goes into the cassette, and there you go. So you need to make sure that you close that back over when you're done with it because otherwise it will be locked in position. So when they were making this van, they were assuming that you're going to have a TV over here because they've given you the relevant sockets over here. So obviously there's already a bracket here as well. So if you were going to have a telly, ideally it would go here. If not, there are other places you can have it, but that is the most sort of logical place to have it, I think. But there you go. So really lovely vehicle, nice upholstery. It's been really well looked after. We know the vehicle from the previous owner, so you know we've looked after it, and so yeah, I think I've pretty much covered everything. If there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you'd like going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.